Hi, and welcome to another exciting pirate news. With you tonight is the one, the only Captain of the Massachusetts chapter and Secretary of so many other things, projects and stuff. The one, the only, the Jamie.
Hey, folks.
And then the most successful pirate at holding office ever. The mysterious Steve.
Well, I wouldn't say holding office. It's actually committee appointments, but I think I've done okay there.
Civically active in a governmental function.
Yeah, that's right.
And of course, I'm with you as well, the treasurer and quartermaster of the Massachusetts chapter. And so we just had a couple things to really go over with you tonight. One of them is definitely a key pirate interest in the surveillance world. Jamie, could you fill us in on that?
Sure. So Monday at in front of various Apple stores around the country, Fight for the Future and other organizations, and locally the Massachusetts Pirate Party, are getting people together at 6 p.m. local time, as I said, in front of various Apple stores to protest Apple's spy phone plan. We've talked about this in the past. Apple basically wants to look at all images that you upload to iCloud and somehow see if they match known child porn images. And then additionally, they would add checks so that when you send text messages, if you are, I believe, 14 and under, then what will happen is they will flag that for any sexually explicit material. So if someone sends you sexually explicit material, actually, I think it's 18 and under, but someone sends you sexually explicit material or you send sexually explicit material, they will detect that, so they say, and they will flag it. Do you want to receive this? Do you want to send this? Additionally, I believe if you're under 14, they will rat you out to your parents. So if you are, say, a lesbian and you were to send a sexually explicit image to another female, then as a result, they would send that to your parents and basically out you. So there are serious privacy and civil liberties implications to this change they want to do. And of course, once Apple does it, then you're going to see Google and other providers start to do it as well. And so we really want to nip this in the bud, and Fight for the Future has a petition you can sign. But also, if you can come out tomorrow in front of the Boston Apple store at 815 Boylston Street. That's just down from the Copley Square MBTA station at 6 p.m. We're going to have a protest with Fight for the Future and other organizations there. We're really encouraging pirates to come down and make their voices heard.
So, just out of curiosity, Jamie, we talked about Apple's spy phone proposal a couple of weeks ago, and at the time, my understanding was that Apple had decided to delay implementation. Or are they still planning on going forward with it, or do you know anything in that area?
So Apple has said that they've heard the opposition and they will tweak their proposal to reflect the concerns that people have. However, this really isn't something that you can tweak. We run the risk that You could get a false positive for sharing an image. We don't know their algorithm of how they're going to identify which images have child porn. And, if you get enough strikes, are they going to send you to the police, even though, the images that you sent were false positives, for example? Or, as I said, are they still going to rat you out to your parents if you're young enough? Potentially leading towards kids who are, LGBTQ plus being thrown out of their house. These are issues that Apple has said they've listened and they're going to change them. But as far as we know, they're still going forward with the plan. With maybe some tweaks, and really there's nothing good that's going to come out of this, and we just need to end it.
Okay, thanks for for that summary.
I mean, it kind of harkens back to the time where we saw a huge decrease in civil liberties and in terms of surveillance, all back to that 9/11, where the Patriot Act kind of came in and kind of stripped us all of that privacy, the right to privacy, right to decency, lack of due process. What are your feelings on that whole situation, gentlemen?
Well, it's been 20 years, and we know from the Snowden revelations, as well as revelations from other whistleblowers, that the U.S. has engaged in mass surveillance of people, that they have specifically targeted people of Middle Eastern or who are Muslim. And the FBI has gone out and attempted to turn people who are Middle Eastern into informants, to the point where some of those folks had seen the negative aspects of our police system, or even have been ended up blown up in drone strikes. So we've seen 20 years of this, and we've seen two parties that are quite happy to spy on all of us, ostensibly for our protection. But really, post 9/11, if someone tries to do something in an airliner, they're never going to be able to, because everyone on the plane is going to make sure that they don't.
Well, here's the big thing about that whole airliner thing that you bring up, is that it's still proven people are still getting on planes with knives, still getting on planes being cuckoo machoos and crazy and just doing crazy things. And I don't feel any safer being on a plane than I do like pre 9/11. In fact, if anything, it made me so much more aware that anyone could get away with anything, especially if you're well thought out and well planned, as these guys were. I don't think that all this extra surveillance has really done anything but just getting more people incarcerated over what is basically BS things.
Yeah, there are like two things that came out of 9/11 that I'd like to talk about, and one is policy, and the other is just kind of an illustration. So on the policy side, one of the things that one of our responses to September 11th was to put a lot of military capability in the executive office. So once upon a time, Congress needed to authorize a declaration of war if you wanted to go to war with another country, and now it's we can there's that's effectively not done anymore. You just say it's terrorism, and the executive branch has the power to do pretty much what they want to do, or at least that's the impression I've gotten over the last couple of years. The other is, I guess we've seen a rise in security theater, and I'm going to pick on Rapiscan as an example of it. So Rapiscan was this shortwave X-ray technology that was everywhere in airports for quite a few years, and the idea was that the basically the scanner will see through your clothes and be able to identify weapons and that sort of thing. So one of because the U.S. started mandating them, and we got a bunch of other countries to adopt, similar technology, which they eventually decommissioned because they didn't think it was useful. Several of these machines wound up on eBay, which allowed someone to buy one and do some really awesome research, basically how do you hack a Rapiscan X-ray machine? Not hack as in hacking the machine, but what can you get away with doing that the machine will not detect? And the best one was basically, they concluded that, well, certain types of plastic explosives looks exactly like skin to these machines. So they're one of their things that they experimented with was basically forming plastic explosive around a person's body, and then they used the stomach, which had the weird effect of then your belly button was gone, but hey, that was the great place to put a detonator.
Actually, I just heard about the Israelis just tested it out, and they actually got a guy who he was Israeli as well, but he was just doing like a war game type deal.
Mm-hmm.
But he literally got within their prime ministers like 2 feet from him and just did bang, you're dead. Just like I got you,
mm-hmm.
essentially, beating these systems.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So
no, security is hard, but security theater is not. It doesn't help the process. It it is by definition not making you safer, and at the very worst, either annoying you or giving you a false sense of security.
Well, I believe the technology they used in order to get by the security measures was to do the 3D printed out weaponry.
Mm-hmm.
That is so easy to get your hands on. So I mean, it's quite the conundrum on how to ensure safety for those around us, and yet at the exact same time, have a completely non-oppressive policy.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really, as far as I can understand why we fell into the trap of the Patriot Act, but it's really just not something that's helping us.
Mm-hmm. It is good to revisit policies, once you have some distance between, now and whatever event originated it. It's, data-driven decision-making actually works.
Yeah, I mean,
if they share the data.
Mm-hmm.
So that means, sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, you're right. I mean, to some degree, we've acclimated to all of these. I remember when the nudie scanners, as they came out, when they first came out, and there was an uproar about it, and now even they're still implemented, though it seems. I don't know. I haven't gone flying in a while, but it doesn't seem like they always use them. But people just became acclimated. We all take our shoes off. We all take our belts off.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why we take our belts off.
Why do we take our shoes off? Honestly, I've never understood that either. What they trying
to the shoe bomber, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who was stopped by the people on the plane who basically, stopped him from igniting his shoes. Plus, I think they just failed. To be honest, the best security measure that we have implemented is what Ralph Nader urged us to implement, which was doors that you cannot force open from the outside. Unfortunately, we have seen cases where at least 2 cases where something happened and the pilot had a mental breakdown or something and end up like there was one in, I think, Switzerland where they flew into a mountain. We still don't know about the Malaysian airline that just disappeared. But, it seems like maybe it's related to the mental state of the pilot. But those are, 2 flights out of what, hundreds of thousands that we've had or more over 20 years?
You're still safe.
Doors work.
You're still safer getting on an airplane than getting into a car. I'm just saying.
Yeah. And most of the terrorist, quote unquote, terrorist incidents are either someone with a gun, someone with a car, or manufactured by the FBI.
Well,
you can't stop a lone wolf if they're under the radar. And even I think wasn't there something recently in New Zealand where they were even watching the guy and still he managed to attack people with a knife and they were watching him.
There's, one of the I think other consequences, and thank you, Jamie, for thinking about this, is we've been so concentrated on certain groups, basically people who follow Islam as a source of terrorists, that we've kind of missed the homegrown ones. That was, I think January 6th, kind of illustrates a consequence of that.
I think a good part of mental health, whether it be at home or abroad, is something that we really need to address. And I think, honestly, just the humanitarian part of why these people are going off the deep end like this, something's being lost in the mist of it all.
Well, that's the thing. If we have, I don't want to attribute all of these things, all of these shootings or killings to mental health issues. That's not fair to the, millions of people who have mental health issues who aren't going to do this.
Right.
Well, no, I understand your point, but I think that if the support structure was properly there for all those millions, somebody probably would have caught a lot of them before they happened.
Absolutely. If we had a system where everyone could see a doctor, didn't have to worry about copays, didn't have to worry about going into tremendous debt to deal with their mental or physical issues, then a lot of these issues would have been solved. But unfortunately, that's not the country that we have. We have this rampant individualism, which we like individualism, we're pirates, but at the same time, there's a collective responsibility to our fellow human beings and our fellow country members.
And
Sorry, you're saying, Steve?
Steve, you were saying?
No, I agree.
And so that being saying, there is an individual responsibility that we all have coming up with the vote for who's going to be mayor. So definitely do your homework and go out and vote. It's the preliminaries coming up, correct?
Correct. And not all cities and not all wards of cities have preliminary elections. I know in Somerville, my particular ward has 4 candidates running for city council,
Mayor.
Ward. No. Well, we do. That's true. We do have 4 people running for mayor in Somerville. And then we also have in my ward, we've got 4 people running for city council, which is a vast change from what we've had in the past, where usually the incumbent had no opposition. So, yeah, go out. The preliminary election is Tuesday, starting what I want to say 7 to 9, right? Or is it 7 to 8? 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.?
Usually 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. are typical poll hours.
Yeah, check your local municipality's website for information about that.
And just to be clear for the folks on the internet, we're talking about Massachusetts here.
Yes.
Yeah, specifically.
And I think city elections, town elections have all passed by now, if I recall correctly, for this year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again. Like, share, subscribe, and comment below what you guys think about everything that we were talking about tonight, because that is important. Thank you.
Thanks all, and check us out at masspirates.org. Bye.